This is Talkin' Mule Deer with your hosts Steve Belinda and Jodi Stemler. Talkin' Mule Deer takes you on a journey to learn more about the Mule Deer Foundation, mule deer and black-tailed deer biology and management, tips and tactics for hunting, conservation issues, and even features some of our corporate and celebrity partners. Now, let's start talking mule deer.
Hello, this is Jodi Stemler, and we are talking mule deer from the 2019 SHOT Show, Shooting, Hunting, and Outdoor Trade Show. And today we've got a couple special guests, but Steve?
Yeah, I'm Steve Belinda, Jodi's co-host, and today we're very fortunate to talk with Bill Dunn from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Bill, you're the Managing Director of Marketing and Communications.
Yep.
And Samantha Pedder from the Council to Advance Hunting and Shooting Sport, or CAHSS. She is the Director of Business Development. Welcome.
So those are a bunch of acronym names there.
Yeah.
and we are not short on letter names in our community, but tell us a little bit. So the National Shooting Sports Foundation, NSSF, has been around a long time. Tell us a little bit about the organization and your affiliation and your connection with the outdoor industry and then across the conservation community.
Yeah, NSSF is the trade association for the shooting, hunting, and outdoor industry. It was formed in 1961. And we also happen to be the owners of the SHOT Show, the trade show that we're here.
Well, thank you for hosting us.
We're all at today. But yeah, we represent more than 12,000 businesses in the industry, which include manufacturers, retailers, ranges, conservation groups, publishers. We run the gamut of all companies in the industry, and we represent them. Our mission is to promote, protect, and preserve hunting and the shooting sports. So all of our programs are geared to doing exactly that.
So you're a trade organization. Members pay you to represent the best for that industry, correct? So
Correct.
It's 501c4 then? Or
6, yep.
5C6. So yeah, so you're really member driven. So those 12,000 companies that you have out there really dictate what are your priorities and what's important for that year and for the organization that you work with.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it has to do with getting new people out there hunting and shooting.
Well, and that's what a big part of what we're going to be talking about today on this particular podcast, because both of you are working on recruitment, retention, and reactivation. And the Council to Advance Hunting and the Shooting Sports is another long acronym, but it's an organization that was developed collaboratively amongst a number of other groups, NSSF being a large member of the Wildlife Management Institute, Mule Deer Foundation, state fish and wildlife agencies, who work together on the hunting heritage, the concept of continuing people who are hunting and shooting and getting outdoors. So tell us a little bit about your organization and why it got started and what you're all about.
Absolutely. So we're a 501c3 based out of Washington, D.C., and we largely focus on the business-to-business connection. We have a 31-member board now, and we represent state fish and wildlife agencies and federal entities, industry members. NSSF is on our board as well. Archer Trade Association is another partner. But then also NGOs, or non-government organizations. So Pheasants Forever, National Wild Turkey Federation, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And all of our focus is on kind of the binding tie between all of those entities, which is hunters and target shooters, and trying to get more people outdoors. If you followed along some of the narrative, participation in outdoor recreation is changing, right? Some is on the decline, some new people are coming in, coming out, churning, lapsing. These are all terms that we've come to understand more in the last 5 years. So the council really prioritizes our 3 efforts, like you described, and working with our partners to kind of get everyone working together on the same page, understanding the options and opportunities we have, and understanding the research as well to get strategic about what we're doing and really have that impact so that everyone has a future that we can be proud of. So
R3, we've said this, but I'm going to reiterate it, is recruitment, retention, and reactivation. And I think what I understand is that everybody's done hunter education for a long time. It's mandatory. There's a number of groups that have had youth programs or women's programs. But when the industry and organizations start to actually really look at what was going on with these efforts, it's kind of a scatter map. It was all over the place. It wasn't organized. And more importantly, there wasn't a way to assess effectiveness and to really see whether you were making an impact. Is that a correct overview of the history of how some of the new efforts are coming about?
Absolutely, yeah. So at WMI, Wildlife Management Institute, did a study in 2004 roughly, and they identified like 420 different programs out there at that time that were doing youth or women programs, trying to get more people outdoors, how you outlined. What they saw, though, was that people had really great times at those events. There's a lot of hot dogs, a lot of target shot and everything. However, we didn't know what happened afterwards. We didn't know if those people actually went on to pick up a firearm again, or if they went on to become another hunter and a lifelong hunter at that too. So now the thought we're taking to this is to say, when we make an investment of our time and resources to teaching someone, we want to make sure that that has a lasting impact on them. So when they take that first shot out of a rifle or a shotgun, we want to make sure that that's a positive experience and it continues for their life. So that's how we're partnering together and trying to get people to think about that and that mentality.
So one of the reasons I think that this is so important is not just that the hunters and shooters help pay for conservation, and we can have a whole separate podcast on that issue itself, but times have changed and culture have changes. You know, Pennsylvania boy, it was second nature to grow up hunting and fishing because your family did it, and it was part of the culture of the school system, and all your friends did it. And so there was no one had to recruit me. I was already immersed into that culture. And you know, I hear today that that's not so. Explain to me what you guys have found, what's different today versus, say, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, like it used to be, it was passed down by generations, and you are seeing a lot less of that, and you're seeing an aging demographic when it comes to particularly hunters. But and you look at land access. I live in Connecticut, and it's very difficult to find a place to hunt these days. So you throw all those challenges together, and it's a big challenge. But the more we can do to encourage people, existing hunters, to take someone new. We were actually just launching a new campaign called the +1 movement, and it's a super simple message: bring somebody new. If you're an existing hunter, take somebody new this year. If you're a shooter, take somebody out to the range. It's really easy. It's that easy.
So you're playing on that whole wedding invitation, sort of party invitation. I'm
I'll be your
inviting you,
+1.
but you're going to have a +1, and that can be
Exactly.
anyone who you want. So.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. This just launched, if I'm not mistaken, in December of 2018, and the idea is, and actually let's back it up a little bit. Sam, what you talked about was that becoming a lifelong hunter or shooter is not going to happen in one touch. It's not going to be that single event that a family takes their kid to. You need to be able to get tools and experiences along the way to build a continuum so that person can become can sustain that interest on their own independently, so they're not going to require somebody to take them with them every time, so that they're going to be able to go out and do that. And as they go, they build affinity, avidity, and they're also starting to buy products that they're going to need. So this is helping all of us along the way in the industry. So the +1 concept is the idea of a mentor, and NSSF's program and other groups are doing similar things as well. Tell us how that is hoping to make a difference in the effort to recruit, retain, or reactivate hunters.
Absolutely. So think about it in crafting a pathway to outdoor participation. We have a lot of partners that do one-day events right now, or multiple-day events, but it's a one-time exposure in somebody's life. So Pheasants Forever puts out a youth pheasant hunt, and someone gets to go harvest a pheasant in the fall. Well, in the spring, you could follow up with a National Wild Turkey Federation mentored turkey hunt. And you're starting to see that these organizations recognize they're not competitive, but they're complementary, and that the collaboration together through campaigns like +1 and having that other person there to guide people through even that experience and along that pathway is longitudinally going to be more impactful for them. So having this concept of building that pathway is what we're after.
Yeah. And Mule Foundation has been engaged in youth recruitment for a long time through our M.U.L.E.Y program, the Mindful, Understanding, Legal, Ethical Youth. We have our state chapters. They're very involved in having these youth events, and they've been incredibly successful. And it's great. And this is not saying those aren't important. It's saying how can we now connect and carry those kids that are doing these events, going to a chapter event, how can we get them able to go out the next time? We're hearing more from some of these chapters that they're single moms with their kids, and the single mom has no idea, but their son or their daughter really wants to try this. So that's why they're coming out to the event. So how could Mule Deer Foundation chapters or other conservation organizations or individuals help in this process?
Absolutely. So something that's coming along with the R3 acronym is also these positions being dedicated at the state level, whether that be through a partner organization or a state fish and wildlife agency. And it's kind of the centerpiece of statewide activity and local grassroots efforts. So one thing that M.U.L.E. chapters could do is to engage in the statewide R3 summits or the statewide R3 advisory team or strategic planning process. Because there's events happening out there that perhaps people who participate in M.U.L.E.s could come, learn about new habitat, new opportunities, and then partner with Pheasants Forever to do the next step too. So these are kind of the event where they can engage and talk and make sure that priorities are also listed there, and then take action from that and help be a really important part of that process.
And a lot of these, a lot of the R3 efforts are starting or connected directly through state fish and wildlife agencies as well. And obviously our chapters are already very well connected with our state game and fish department. So that's probably your best resource. Almost anybody, if you were to go and talk to them now in a game and fish agency, is going to know who their R3 coordinator is, or they're going to at least be able to help you out to point the directions. And that person or those people are going to be able to help make the connections to the other events that might be going on. And it may not be just a youth fest. It may be a smaller hunt or a smaller one-on-one experience that you might be able to get connected to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Bill, 12,000 members of NSSF. How do you go back to them and relate to them the importance of this issue? And how do they understand their contributions to this effort? I mean, other than, PR, DJ dollars that go towards all the things that goes to. I mean, and the reason I ask that is you really have to get people to buy into this stuff. They have to know what the benefit is for them. And if you have 12,000 members who see R3 as a big issue for NSSF and the council and everyone else, how do you tell that manufacturer, that gun shop owner, that this is super important?
Well, particularly you look at shooting ranges, and if you're not seeing people coming through the door, that's a problem. And they look to us, and they look to all the groups out there, the state agencies, to help get new people involved. And same goes for the manufacturers and the retailers and everybody else. Like, everybody wants to see a bright future for hunting and the shooting sports. And everybody's on board.
So the more people that do it, the more customers they might have, and the more income and livelihood. Plus, what I found in this business is it's not everything that you get out of it. It's what you give back to. And that, in the hunter ed that I help teach, and the conservation leaders for tomorrow, and, now raising children to be hunters and understanding conservation, it's what I can give them. And, that makes you as proud. It makes you feel good as much as, being able to go out and harvest a nice deer or go pheasant hunting. So.
Well, and the industry and corporate partners are absolutely see the connection. I mean, they clearly have seen the need, and I know I've seen a lot of them really embracing through either product donations or National Shooting Sports Month.
Yep.
That's August, right?
Yep.
Where there's a very concerted effort, a focused time of getting people out on the range. And the companies donated significant product for drawings and giveaways so that there was some social media interaction, right? Is that?
Oh, yeah. Like, August last year was amazing. Like, the entire industry rallied together. All the manufacturers, ranges, retailers, everybody on their social media channels were encouraging people, hey, it's August. It's National Shooting Sports Month. Get out there. Have fun. And like you said, they donated products for giveaways, and everybody sees the importance, and everybody's on board. And especially when you pull somebody together for that whole unified concept, like a whole month to celebrate the shooting sports, everybody is more than happy to help out and get the word out and try to increase participation together, because we're stronger together.
Yeah. So recruitment, retention, reactivation.
That's me.
Yeah.
I am the picture-perfect reactivation story, because I grew up hunting and fishing when I was a kid, and then high school, college, sports, life, career, living in the city, no opportunity. So I always considered myself a hunter, but I didn't buy a license for 20 plus years until we got our bird dog about 8 years ago, and that got me back into upland hunting. And now our daughter goes with us, and she's starting to hunt. So the reactivation is a person who used to hunt or fish. What they were finding, right, is that the licenses, that there were people that used to buy licenses that don't buy them anymore. What are the reasons that stop you from buying a license? Is it access? Is it, in my case, time or effort or opportunity? So you guys have done some research on that and reactivating some of these hunters, the people who consider themselves hunters but aren't doing it and aren't buying a license on a regular basis. That's a whole different approach to somebody who's never done it or has no connection at all, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's churn, right? There's in 5 years, 35% of the licensed buyers won't buy every year. If you guys are out there listening, buy a license every year, year in and year out, you're an anomaly. It's not common for people to be participant.
In a good way.
In a good way. Yes, you're
And I
our
would
core.
say
We need you.
In just one state? I mean, I buy.
Exactly. Yeah, I have 4 this year, so but we're different, right? But that's kind of the nice thing about hunting, though, too, because that means that you probably know someone that's lapsed and hasn't done it a bit, and that's an easier invite, perhaps, than teaching someone brand new how to do it from start to finish. Might just be opening up a spot at your hunting camp and saying, "Come on in."
Right.
And so there's different things that people listening can do and take action in, and it's not just being a corporate partner and sponsoring events and everything. There's something. This is a action and option that people have that they can take advantage of, regardless of who they work for.
Yeah, it is not just the big events. It's not. M.U.L.E. events are fabulous. In New Mexico, Colleen Richardson, our regional director, has a women's program called the DOES program, which is ethical sportsmanship outdoor for women, But again, these are grand things. These are opportunities to have touches along the way. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a coordinated group event to do that. It can be going up to your neighbor, who used to hunt and saying, "Bob, why aren't you hunting anymore? Why don't you come out with me on my lease or on my property," or something along that line, right?
It's sort of take on the old environmental movement saying is think globally but act locally. Think about what's going on here from a whole kit and caboodle sort of a sense, but take it upon yourself to act within your own little sphere of influence.
Absolutely.
So where can somebody find information? What are individual acts of kindness or opportunity that a Mule Deer Foundation member could do to become a mentor, a +1? Where can they find some resources that might help?
So there's 2 different sites of resources that probably could be useful to them. If you're a member of Mule-Y's or Mule Deer Foundation and want to engage with other chapters and other organizations working on this, they could join the nationalr3plan.com. It's a National R3 community. Get more information, subscribe, find some webinars. But there's also local resources, too, like Let's Go Hunting and Let's Go Shooting, right?
Yeah, we actually just launched, within the past 6 months, 2 awesome new websites, letsgohunting.org and letsgoshooting.org. And, yeah, you can find things to do in your local area. You can find all your local hunting regulations. It's a great point for people to start, like if somebody's new, or if you're a mentor. We have a whole section, it's actually called the +1 movement section, where we have great videos on how to be the perfect mentor, how to make that first experience the best that it can possibly be, and a lot of great tips on getting new people involved. We have a ton of articles, ton of videos, but yeah, both of those sites for shooting and hunting, you can find so many great resources.
Well, and it's an interesting thing because I have a feeling we're going to have some people go, "They don't need any more darn people. We got plenty. I see every people out there all the time," right? And we all do. It does feel that way sometimes. But statistically, there are declines. And
2 million hunters in 5 years from the last survey. I can't fathom that. I mean, and just the financial loss that we get from that license purchase and the accessories, but.
Well, and the projection long term with the aging of the current cohort of primary, the majority of our hunters.
What's the average age? Like 60-something now, isn't it?
It's between 55 and 60
55
roughly.
and 60.
Yeah. So we've got about 5 to 10 years before a lot of those folks are not going to be physically able to get out hunting, shooting maybe a little bit more time, but. Thankfully, I mean, we all know those individuals that hunted until they were 100, but there's not that many. Most are going to drop off. So unless we are replicating ourselves, +1, we're not going to have this. And the fewer people we have recognizing and advocating for hunting and shooting are going to it creates the potential where there are where we're not going to have these places to go, that there are people who oppose hunting, the people that are against shooting and gun ownership are going to have a louder voice and be able to speak more clearly, and so if we don't bring along the next generation, the future might be grim. So it's upon all of us.
We hear all the time, just the kids today.
Kids today,
Have,
I've heard you say that.
as Jodi reaches for her cell phone, are
Looking at the clock.
too much connected to technology. I have kids. We got every gadget under the sun. They love it, but they also love being outside. And so I don't buy into that, just have them put the iPad down and they're going to be fine in the outdoors. I think it's more of a lifestyle thing and creating that balance that we need in life. So what are these, when something out there, they call it these things that are sticky. What are a couple of the things that you can advise us on, things that stick with, whether it's a youth or a mid-aged adult or someone like Jodi who's being reactivated, that we can, help with your efforts?
So one of the first things I would say is don't fight technology in coming with you. Sometimes the selfie is a big thing right now, right? Everyone wants to take selfies. How people interact with the world is shifting, right? Used to be able to converse with people back and forth, but our worlds have expanded. So now we use our cell phones to communicate with people and everything. So when your phone comes with you in the blind or in the stand, embrace it. Take a funny selfie. There's some great filters on Snapchat now. My dad loves them. So it's definitely something to embrace and take with you if you think about anything. Don't fight technology being there. I think that's how people explore it, build a connection to it. It's just a part of it now. So rather than going against it, embrace it.
It's more material for your Instagram account.
Exactly.
Instagram stories and Facebook stories. Everybody's looking for new things to do. I think you even look at like the people in their 20s and 30s. They're looking for new experiences. That's a new thing. It's all about experiences, and people are looking for new things to do.
Well,
and hunting, we even see like in urban communities, and like for example, like in Greenwich Village in New York City, where there's this whole locavore movement going on where people want to eat organic food, and they're actively searching for ways to become a hunter. And it's not what it was back in the day where you'd go out with your father or whatever. These people didn't have that experience. They grew up in cities, and they're actively looking for ways to get involved. And I think it's up to everybody out there to be that person to help them get to where they need to be.
I just heard about a Pint Night that occurred in downtown Manhattan last week, and like 65, 70 people showed up in downtown Manhattan. And so what it shows to me is that, just like you described, there's this need. And sometimes, though, if you don't know a hunter, it might not occur to be an activity that you could participate in, right? So that's one of our challenges right now. How do we get on people's radars?
Curve, right? I mean, it can be a little bit of a scary thing for people. And I think that's an important point that I wanted to talk about and touch on as well is the recruiting that we've done in the past has been bring in some of the folks that we expect, your kids or other kids. I mean, but to make a difference, we have to be reaching into areas that look different than us, whether that is diversity of ethnicities or gender. Obviously, women, thankfully, that's a growing movement for women. People who are interested in it for the food entirely, and bringing in that locavore and the connection and good culinary practices that is, but they're going to look at it differently, and they're going to want information in different ways as well of how to go about doing it. So that's something else that you guys, I know, are talking about and having opportunities. And how do you tap into millennials, through Pint Nights or other experiences or food game feeds. We've talked about Samantha. There's in Georgia, they've done the Field to Fork. They go out to local farmers markets in downtown Athens, Georgia, and they set up a table where they give out venison, and the people that go try it know, this is pretty good. And these are people who already care about where their food's coming from. So then they say, hey, do you want to try it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like pushing drugs on the street, but it's game.
Well, I think, for so long, particularly in the last 20 years, we focused so much on the kill. That very short part of hunting that everyone wants to see because it results in, your trophy shot or that sense of euphoria or accomplishment. But really, hunting is the whole kit and caboodle. For those of us that have been doing it for so long, it's a year-round activity. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of something about hunting or fishing that I feel part of the whole experience. And in a lot of ways, that's, I think, what we've missed because of media and instant access and the internet and everything else is you don't see the prep. You don't see the after the shot where you have to carry an elk out for, on your back for 5 trips over 2 miles and then, deal with the weather and come back and, have the wolves howling around you in Montana like we do and other things. That makes the experience so much more to me and to a lot of people that I know. And that's really hard to portray unless you're in a one-on-one situation or a small group situation. And
yet we're starting to see it a little bit more as well in social media, in some of the storytelling that's going on about the lifestyle, the experience, the very fundamental emotional experience that people have about the entire journey, and the actual time you harvest that animal is a very short part of what it is.
Absolutely. It's funny. You don't realize how lucky you are, right, to get exposed and be born into this. And I don't think there'll ever be a season where I don't go afield, but there might be a season where I don't go afield with my family members. It might be a friend I take out. I don't know. But having that opportunity to connect people to beyond just the point of harvest is something that I haven't realized is kind of my responsibility. So how do I convey that? How do I portray that? How do I share that with people? Because that's definitely going to be something that's going to grow in importance as we continue, especially as people age out or change participation rates. Definitely something we have to keep in top of mind, too.
I don't remember the statistics, but I know it's a substantial amount of people it's actually a very small number who are anti-hunting. The majority, and a small number who actually hunt. The vast majority of people don't necessarily have strong positive or negative feeling, and if it's portrayed well or presented to them in the right way, you could swing them over to the other side, one way or the other, depending on how that's done, depending on how that story is told.
Hunting for food and recreation is above 80% on a general populace. It's only when you get into that trophy hunting, sport hunting nomenclature that you see significant drops. And I can tell you this, if you've come around a game feed or have someone that's a really good cook and you get a chance to eat it, you're really going to want to figure out how you can get that yourself. And that's that foodie locavore movement. Jodi, we were looking at the earrings that your daughter makes from feathers from animals that were harvested. And I guarantee you that if you showed that around to people that would love to have those or do them themselves, they would say, wow, how can I go do that? And so my point on this is it's not a one-size-fits-all way of doing R3 and making connections. You have to have that flexibility and adaptability to the circumstance and to the person that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
So the whole goal of this was to let people know that there are efforts, that there are groups like yours that are working on these issues. And there are tools and there are resources for the average hunter. So remind us again what the organizations and what your websites are for people to go out and get more information. Take somebody hunting, take somebody shooting, get them involved and let them see that passion that you have for that time out in the field.
Yeah,
so,
and I'd say, too, like you said before, like it all starts locally. Like you don't need to be a giant, massive organization. Like you can be anyone at all. Bring somebody new. Like encourage your friends to do so because this all starts locally. And just imagine if every single person who's a hunter brought somebody new next year. We could double our ranks in a year. Imagine that. Yeah. You'd erase any decline in hunting. We'd be growing again.
Yeah.
Like, it really could be that easy. Just I'm planning on bringing somebody new.
So tell us letsgoshooting.org and letsgohunting.org.
Yeah, letsgohunting.org, letsgoshooting.org. Ton of great resources.
And National Shooting Sports Foundation is www.nssf.org.
Yep, you got it.
And Sam, what's the council's website?
Sure. The council can be found at www.CAHSS.org.
Or we can talk to any one of your state. You can walk into your state fish and game wildlife agency and ask them about, R3, and they can probably point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and we have a page on our website. If you're looking for local contacts, about 40 states now have someone sit in that R3 coordinator's seat, and you can just visit our page and find that information too.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate you. I know it's a busy week, particularly for you, Bill.
Yeah.
Got to swipe him out of the press room, but we really appreciate you carving the time out to talk about this and all the work that your organizations do. And until now, we're talking mule deer at the SHOT Show in 2019. This is Jodi Stemler.
And I'm Steve Belinda. And do your part. Get out there and help someone learn how to hunt or shoot. And let's leave conservation better than we found it. And thank you for talking mule deer.
Thanks for talking mule deer with Steve Belinda and Jodi Stemler. The Mule Deer Foundation is the only conservation group in North America dedicated to restoring, improving, and protecting mule deer and black-tailed deer and their habitat. MDF is a strong voice for hunters in access, wildlife management, and conservation policy issues. To find out more, visit www.muledeer.org and stay tuned for the next episode of Talkin' Mule Deer.